Welcome back to the Floyd Memorial Library podcast, where you'll find information on what's going on the North Fork of Long Island. We'll be focusing on issues and opportunities going on in the community, as well as people and stories from the present and the past. I'm your host, Christopher Bianchi, and for episode 57, our guest today is Piotr Narkiewicz. He's the pastor of St. Agnes Church in Greenport. And we had a great conversation where we explored Piotr's rich history and family story from the harrowing experiences of World War II to the era of communist Poland. We'll journey through the significant moments that shaped his life and his family's legacy. Piotr will share with us the challenges of growing up in communist Poland, witnessing the fall of the Soviet Union and the dawn of a new government during his college years. We'll delve into his spiritual journey, discussing his time in seminary. We also explore how he sees the opportunity to come to the United States in 2012, joining the vibrant Polish community in Riverhead and working at St. Isadore. His story continues as he takes on the role of pastor at St. Agnes Church in Greenport, becoming an integral part of the local community. Finally, we'll look towards the future, discussing his insights on the evolving North Fork community and his hopes for its future. So I hope you enjoy episode 57 with Piotr Narkiewicz. This episode was recorded May 22nd, 2024. Thank you so much for taking the time to come on to the Floyd Memorial Library podcast today.
Thank you for the invitation.
So, can you give us a brief introduction about yourself, where you were born and raised?
I was born in 1970 in Poland during communism. So I grew up in the city of Wrocław, which is like a city, 500,000 people live there. I graduated from my high school in 1989. It was exactly the year when the communism in Poland collapsed. And then I was studying in University of Wrocław history for 5 years. And then I finished with a master's degree from history and start working in a high school as a history teacher. And in 2000, I felt vocation to be a priest, so I entered the seminary. I was ordained in 2008, and in 2012, I was sent to America. And since then, I am in the United States.
And now to go back in terms of your ancestry, how far back can you go on your mother's or father's side?
Yes, we managed pretty far. My grandma, from my father's side, when she was very interesting with those things. And she dig the roots up to, I think, 16th century. There was a record about, her last name was Narkiewicz, maiden name Narkiewicz. So she found that Narkiewicz, like a great father, bought a land in that particular place. And that was, this is the deepest ancestry. From my mother's side, we found the records in the parish books up to beginning of the 19th century. The records of baptisms of some of our great fathers.
Yes. And did you get to meet your grandparents?
Yes, yes. Mm-hmm. My grandpa died. They both died in the same year. I was, I think I was 11, and my grandma. They also both died in the same year, and I was already 30 years old. So. Mm. Mm-hmm.
And were they all from the similar area?
Oh no, it's like my grandfather from my father's side would be like from Maine, and my mother's side was from Texas. So that's what this.
Wow.
Now my father's father was born in today is Lithuania. My father's mother was born in today Ukraine. My mother's parents were born in Silesia. So this is the Lithuania will be from like northeast. Ukraine place, Grudek, where my grandma was born, is like southeast. And my mother's side, southwest. So 3 corners of then Poland. No, but my grandparents from my mother's side, they were born in the neighbor villages. So they know each other from the church probably, or from the dances.
Yes.
on a ferry in the afternoon.
And with your, say, grandfather on either side, did you get to talk to them about, did they ever tell you any stories about growing up?
Not really. I was too little to talk about those things, but we have some stories because my mother remembered and my father remembered the stories. So they wrote it down, all those stories. So we have the records of all those very interesting stories during Second World War.
Where did your parents grow up?
So my father was born also in Lithuania. In that time there was Republic of Lithuania, was 1936, before the Second World War. So the Lithuania was independent republic. And my mother was born in then Germany, on the other side of the border. Even her family was, we will say, Polish, because they were from Polish ancestry. That region was always, Silesia was always like a borderland. So they were changing hands like every 300 years. Somebody else took it. First was Poland, then was Kingdom of Czech, then was Kingdom of Austria, then was Kingdom of Prussia, then was again Poland. Then was Germany, Nazi Germany, and then was Poland. So back and forth. So basically they always said, we are locals. Are you Polish or German? We are locals. We are from here. Right, that was the thing. But my mother was born on the German side of the border before the Second World War.
And how did they end up in Poland?
After war, my mother stayed in the same village when the border changes. When the border changed after Second World War, and Yalta and Teheran. They and Potsdam and all those rules, like all those deals that Stalin, Churchill, and Roosevelt made about borders of Europe after the war. Poland, as you probably remember, Poland lost like 1/3 of territory for Soviet Union and gained a little bit on the west from Germany, and then the border shifted. So my mother was now on the Polish side of the border. My father then, when Soviet Union invaded during the war, invaded Lithuania and incorporated Lithuania to Soviet Union, then there was a war, so the border shifted again because the German came and kicked the Soviet out, and then the Soviet came and kicked the German out. So when the Russians were coming back, my father's family ran away. And then they ended up at the end, all those, long story short, they ended up in the mountains, in small village in the mountains on Polish side of the border, in the South Poland. And then when they both grow up, they went to college, to Wrocław. So they met in Wrocław. My mother and my father were classmates in the college. So this is how they met, in Wrocław.
And what was the reasoning for your father's, or was it just him or his family that, sorry, Lithuania?
Well, they're running for their lives from Soviet Union, yes.
Was that because at one point it was occupied by Germany, but then it was occupied by Soviet Union after? But why were they running from the Soviet Union at that time?
Wouldn't you? No, the story is very, very drastic because my father was 3 years old when the war started. So first, Lithuania was independent republic. So they all have Lithuanian passports. When the war started in September and Germany invaded Poland, Soviet Union invaded Poland from the east. After 70 days of fighting with Germans, we were invaded from the back. So the Polish government collapsed and Poland was occupied. But in the same time, I think it was like a month after that, the Soviet Union threatened those Baltic republics, Estonia, Lithuania, and Latvia, to say, okay, now we will take over. And because they were small countries and they saw what happened to Poland, they came, okay, we give up. So the Soviet Union entered to those republics and start to put the Soviet rules. To the point that, and this is also family story, that KGB and those secret police were everywhere, and then were looking for the Polish people, especially for intelligence. And my grandfather was a doctor, so they were walking the Soviets, secret service or whatever, soldiers. I don't really know who were soldiers, communist soldiers, were walking on the streets with a list of names, going to the houses to taking the people out and sending to Siberia, like without, like this. So that was a very interesting moment because my grandfather was called as a doctor to the railway station and to provide some, I don't remember even what was it. And then was this one KGB guy or whatever who was kind of nice guy. And he said to my grandfather, here you have the red bandana, sit here, take this pile of papers, and if somebody will ask you what are you doing, you have to tell them, do not disturb me, I have an order to work on that. And then you will survive. And this is what he did, and nobody was bothering him. But in the same time, the Soviets came to the house looking for my grandma and my father. But in the same time, they learned that the neighbors were taken to the railway station to the transport. So my grandma, naive and stupid, she prepared the package for them with the rice, with the sugar, to bring to the railway station. So they went to the railway station, and of course Soviets kicks them out. No, you're not allowed to come here. So they return, and in the same time, the Soviets came to their house. They check, there was nobody there, only the housekeeper. And they ask her, where are the family? Oh, they went to the railway station. Oh, railway stations. Okay, so somebody else was already here. So they crossed them out. Like, okay, they went to the transport then. So then they return and they survive, no? And also, my grandfather also survived another thing because he was working in a hospital. And one day, the Soviets came to that hospital and killed everybody, like shooting.
This was in Lithuania?
Lithuania, yes. Just shooting everybody who was in the doctors, patients, everybody. Like spreading the machine guns. And my grandfather was not on that shift. That's why he survived.
Wow.
So, to be honest, my grandfather said when the Germans came, because nobody knew what Germans will do, but at least they knew what Soviets will do. So they were looking at them like liberators, no? And then Germans came, because remember, there is no internet, no cell phones, nobody knows about Auschwitz. It's in 1941, no? Nobody knows those things. you see soldiers who kicking out those murderers from Soviet Union. That was the reaction. The main rule on the war for the civilians is to survive. And you survive whatever you can to survive. So this is that part of the story. So when they learn the Soviets are coming, they already have the news how the Soviets are treating the territories that they conquer. So everybody was running away from there, especially when my grandfather knew that he was on a list to be picked up. So that's why they run away.
But Poland was a better option.
They were running away from the front.
From the Russian
front. And they were still in German territory, which was actually for them was very profitable because they have Lithuanian passports. The Polish were persecuted, but Lithuanian were not. So even my grandfather was Polish, but he has a Lithuanian citizenship. So they were traveling to Germany with the Lithuanian passports. So they kind of allowed them, it was a long story, very interesting, how they managed, they lie, like crazy stuff. My grandfather was, they arrested them, the Gestapo arrested them. Where are you going? You have no permission to travel. And my grandfather, we're going to visit my aunt. You have to prove it. Okay, but we don't have a transport. Okay, so come with us. So the Gestapo actually transport them to this town where my grandfather's aunt was. So they travel there, and during the travel, my grandfather picked up the bottle of vodka and started to drink vodka with those Gestapo guys. And at the end of the trip, they all were very, very friendly, right? Because they drink a lot. They were very happy. So then when they arrived to this village when my aunt was, they just let them go because they were completely drunk. Lot of those type of stories,
Yeah.
So then finally they ended up in, first they ran away to Vienna in Austria, and then they received the permit to work in Czech Republic because the Germans were looking for the doctors. So my grandfather received a letter, you can go there. So they lived there. And actually, in 1945, the American army liberated my grandfather and my father. It was the Patton's army who came to the Czech Republic in the mountains.
Wow.
My grandfather always remember, we were sitting in the town in the basement, and all of we heard that Abrams coming, like the tanks, And then one tank stopped, and we sitting in the basement, he said. The door opened, and we saw big African Americans standing at the door. And we were like, terrified, what's going on? And he's going to throw the grenade or something. And then he smiled. So we said, we are safe. So that was the liberation of my dad.
Wow. And your father went to school in Lithuania for a little bit, but then had to move.
Yes.
And was in the Czech Republic.
Also went to school there. He received First Communion there, by the way. Yes.
Mm-hmm.
And
did he say what, or he was very young at the time, but did he mention anything about his personal experience with the war?
Yeah, he said something. Like, for example, the story about this basement is from my father's, right? He told me that story, And then some, when the kid remembers some like pictures, and you really, for example, he said, one day when we were running away, we stopped in one place when we saw the German truck with the German soldiers. So as a kid, I was running back and forth. Nobody was paying attention to me. And I entered one room and I saw the resistant guys cleaning the weapon. It was like 2 rooms in the same building. 2 rooms left were resistance, and 2 rooms right was German soldiers. It was like, that was weird. So I closed the door and ran away because nobody was paying attention to the kid. This was one of the experiences that my father said that he had. But this is basically what my father said about the war. My mom shared more because they lived on the German side of the border, and so.
How long was she in Germany up until what?
So she was born also 1936. So she was 3 years old when war started, And then, so for example, my grandfather, as a German citizen, was drafted to Wehrmacht in 1939. He was forced to be in the military. After 2 years, they released him, and he was working in a factory. In that village, there was a factory. They produced the synthetic gasoline. And actually, this was what my mom was telling me. They were, this factory was bombarded by Americans because it was a factory that was working for the military. So until now, in this region, a lot of trench, yes, like a place where the bomb exploded. No, and so until I remember, Mom said that every time when she heard the plane, she was terrified. Even she was already adult. No, she didn't like to fly. She didn't like the sound of the airplanes because the airplanes were coming, and one day they were sitting in the basement and the bomb hit the neighbor's house and the whole family was killed. No, because the bomb spread. You don't control exactly where it falls. No, so that was the thing. And then the story of my mother was very something, because then in 1945 the Soviet Union came and the Soviets kicked the Germans out. But now the Russians were occupying forces. No, for after the war it belongs to Poland. But in that very moment they were just occupying territory by Russians because the war was still going on. And my mom remembered that first the Russians take every man and sent them since 15 to 65, I think, and took them to the factories in deep Russia. So my grandfather ended up working in, today is Ukraine, in the mine. And then, so then there was this young lieutenant, Mom said, very nice guy, who was always coming to them. My grandma was then with, there were 3 kids, my mom, her sister, and her younger brother. And he always bringing them something to eat. And he was very nicely request, can I sit with you here? And he was sitting in the kitchen, just sitting there, no? Maybe remembering his family, I don't know. But one day, there was another guy came. And he was very rude and screaming and said, you have to all get out from here. And my grandma didn't know what to do because she was weak. I think she was right after miscarriage that she had. I don't remember exactly the details. So she was sick. And she couldn't travel. She couldn't do anything. And so he said, if you will not leave in 10 minutes, I will all kill you. And he left. And my grandma gathered all her kids, picked up the big cross from the wall, and sat in the corner with this cross, and she was praying. In that very moment, this lieutenant came. He asking, as usual, can I sit with you? And he realized what's going on. So when he saw this other soldier coming, he ran toward him and said, what are you doing? Oh, we're going to all kill them. We're going to all kill them. And he said, no, not necessary. They're kids. So somehow he explained that situation, and that's why my mother's family was saved. And then he helped them to travel to a neighbor village and stuff.
Okay. And moving more now towards your parents, did your dad go to, well, it wasn't called high school, but was it like a secondary school?
Yeah, the secondary school, high school, whatever. They went together to college. They graduated from the high school and they went to college. We call it university. No, in that time we didn't have this like a college and university. 5 years university. No.
Where was what college?
It was in Wrocław, University of Wrocław, and they both studied math. So they were both mathematicians. And then when they finish, when they graduated from university, they get married.
And they settled in that.
In Wrocław, yes.
Wrocław.
My father got the job there in continuing education in the university. Eventually, he became a professor in this university. And my mom was a high school teacher for a while. And then we all started showing up. So
Yes.
then she stopped working.
But before that, did they say anything about their experience in university? And because now that was Soviet occupied territory, how was the university experience for them?
This is very complicated.
Okay.
Because technically it wasn't. But you say it right. It was still under Soviet occupation. Until 1990s, we have around 1 million of Soviet soldiers on our territory.
Until 1990.
Yes, 90. I don't remember when exactly it was. Anyway, so even we were called, oh, you are Popular Republic of Poland with your own government, with all parliament and everything, with our own constitution. We really didn't have any freedom. For example, we have to reject that Marshall Plan to help the Europe made by United States, because the Soviets said, "Oh, we don't need that." And then you can see the results. In the West, the West Germany was flourishing, and behind the Iron Curtain, everything was before. One of the examples.
Yeah. But how was it for them now? It was a different economic system,
Yes.
or what you might want to call it under the communism. But how was it economically at that time for them? Were they struggling with
Yes, I understand.
inflation and stuff?
Well, I don't know the details, but I remember from my experience, that everything was controlled by the government. As you probably remember, there was tries of uprising against that system. First was in 1956, and then was 68, then was 76, and then finally Solidarity in 1980. But economically was always very bad. Everything was controlled because this is what the Soviet government want. This is what communism and socialistic government want to do, to control everything centrally. And I remember there was a factory that was making the one part of equipment, and the other part of the equipment was produced in the other end of Poland. And then something didn't work well, so the both factory couldn't produce anything because they didn't have any resources to do it, because the system didn't work. Then for everything you have to have the permit. To build something in your property, your own property, you have to have a permit. To change something in your house, you have to have a permit. To have the plans for the building, you have to have a permit. You have to have a permit to buy the materials for the project that you have in your house. Without the permit, you cannot go to the store and buy the bricks or something, because there was the law about it, Everything was regulated by law. Everything. And then free speech. As long as I didn't say anything against communists, then we have a free speech. You can say anything you want except saying something against government. So
and we can move towards you in terms of growing up. You grew up in the same area that you're.
Yes. In Wrocław.
Wrocław. I can't pronounce it.
Wrocław.
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 Wrocław. I don't know. So, in terms of you growing up there, just as a child, even earlier on, how would you describe your neighborhood or community you grew up in? And was it a big, was it a small city or?
No, the city was big, like
It was
500,000 people.
And was it government housing?
Some of them were, yes. We lived in an apartment building, 10-storage building. We still live there. And again, it was, I don't know how to explain it, like rations. You apply and they're going to give you, but you have to wait in the line for years to receive your own house. No, technically, it's yours, but practically, it's not. After communism collapsed, finally, my parents bought that house from the government, but that apartment, bought them from the government after living there like 20 years, no? But
before that, it was just
you using that building, you pay the rent, no? That was like, and the rent, you pay rent to the government. Or something like that. I don't remember the details now. So that was basically, the private property was really restricted, and to be honest, it was criticized. I remember in the media, in like a propaganda, was those who have private property, like a land or something, there was always like, oh, those are bad guys. Oh, somebody is rich, somebody make a business. Oh, that's a bad guy. Probably he have stolen the money. There was always this narrative was going on that somebody who make the good business, you cannot trust the guy, right? That was the communistic mentality. Everybody have to be poor, so then everybody will have the same. Everybody will be equal because nobody will have anything. That was the best way to be equal. No, you don't have anything, so we are equal.
Yes.
And that was the thing. And then in the stores, I remember, in the stores, there was nothing. Only the woman who was selling air, like a butcher store. Nothing there. Just the hooks. I remember that very well. You enter to the store, there is nothing there. The only thing was always there was a matches and the vinegar. I don't know why, but that was a symbol of...
Was the vinegar for preserving whatever?
I have no idea. No idea.
In terms of food supplies, very limited.
Yes. So then, in 80s, when the system started to collapse completely, there were rations. So everybody received the like a voucher, or you know,
like a food stamp.
A food stamp, yes.
Something like that.
And on a food stamp, you have limits what you can buy in every month. You can have there was a food stamp for meat, for cheese, for alcohol, for cigarettes, for chocolate, for a lot of stuff. Was for sugar. I remember the first one for sugar. You can have like 4 pounds of sugar a month for the family, or something like that. I remember. It was really, really. But even that we have those food stamps, there was nothing in the store. So from time to time, there was delivery. So when there was a rumors that it's going to be delivered tomorrow, there was a line the whole night, people waiting for delivery next morning, right? And then there was a list. You have to put your name on the list because people were checking if somebody's cutting the line and stuff. You know, it was really nasty, you know, to wait in the line and to be able to go and buy something, no? That was really, really tough. I really don't know how my mom figured it out. Probably because my aunt and grandfather and grandmother, they still live in the village. So they were farmers. So somehow they have their own meat, own produce from you know, cows and pigs, whatever they have, no? And I remember from time to time we were traveling to that village to bring something back. But you have to be very careful because on the borders, especially when there was a martial law after Solidarity, they were checking what do you have in your car. The police and soldiers were waiting on the border of the city, checking what you have in your car. And do you have a permit for that? You don't have a permit for the meat in your car? Be careful.
They'll take it.
They will.
But as a child, you remember at least having regular meals that your mother or father would have for the most part, but would it be still pretty limited,
Yes, very simple.
simple
Very
meals.
simple. Yes. Sweets, chocolate was a feast.
If you had anything
If we
like
have
that.
like a chocolate or something like that, no? Mom was figured out how to do the cookies and stuff, baking cookies. But then again, from supplies from the village, not so much from the store. But with that, I cannot, enter too detail because I don't remember.
Yes.
I didn't even know.
Yes.
Well,
At that time, just like I'm a kid.
yes.
Just-
And my parents really managed to do many good things without telling us about the shortness of the supplies.
Mm-hmm.
No, but when I was like, I don't know, 13, 14, I started to go to the store by myself and I saw what's going on, right?
Yeah.
So I saw that empty shelves and stuff.
Yeah. What would you do as a child or in your teenage years outside of school as fun activities?
Soccer.
Soccer.
We have a nice yard in the front of the apartment building and we always play soccer there. Shine or rain, we play soccer. My mom was very angry when I was coming back all dirty with the mud, but that was the activity that we have.
That was the major
Being
activity.
outside and doing crazy stuff.
Yes.
We have very nice game. We call it bicycle race. Use the cups from the bottles. You know that one?
No.
You build the road on the ground with the curves, hills and stuff on the sand or whatever. And then you use your fingers to play like this to strike the cups from the bottle. And you put the marks on it like this is number 1, this is number 2, this is my player. And you have to stay in the line to finish the race. It was amazing game. You can play the days, make a list who was the first, who was the second, like like a little notebooks when you write down all those results. It was something very, very interesting.
And now for schooling, how was that experience overall? Your elementary, middle school, high school?
So, about education, we learn a lot by memory. I remember learning poems by heart. And then I discovered that was very inspiring because I remember those poems in Polish until now. Because it will help you to train your brain to remember things. We didn't have experiments like we have here. Like, for example, the class goes, I don't know, to biology and you make an experiment with the frogs or I don't know. We didn't have that. I was disappointed. We always have a lot of theory.
What about history? How would they...
That was tricky thing. Depends of the teacher. In high school, we have a very good teacher. And she said, I don't really care what they're going to do with me. I'm going to teach you the true history. And she was old teacher. She didn't give a damn what she was telling to us. She was telling the truth. So I learned about the Katyn and the Polish soldiers who were murdered by the Soviet Union in the prison camp. You know the story, right? About Katyn. You don't. Haha.
No, I don't think I do.
When Soviet Union invaded Poland in 1939, they take prisoners of war to the camp and deep in today is Ukraine and Belarus in their places. It was like 20,000 or even more soldiers, officers, and in 1940 they killed them all. Only few escape. And for years, it was forbidden to talk about it. Why? Because Germans, when they invaded Russia in 1941, they discovered those graves, multiple graves, and they make a fuss about it. What's going on? The Soviets are killing the POWs. And Soviets said, no, it was you. Germans killed them. And Germans said, no, we didn't. And they found the proofs, because the last letter was from 1940. The newspapers, they were in the pockets of the soldiers were 90-40. Nothing behind that. They found some buttons from the Soviet uniforms and stuff. But Russia denied it completely, to the point that because of that, they broke the diplomatic relationship with the Polish government on immigration. And in Poland, it was completely forbidden to talk about it. And our teacher was telling us those stories. She said, I don't care. I'm going to tell you how it was. And she told us all those things. That's why, probably because of those inspirations, that's why I went to study history, to become a history teacher as she was.
So that's how you really became interested in that.
Yes.
And you, coming out of high school, that's what you wanted to focus on?
Yes. This is what I did.
And then that was 1989?
1989 I graduated from high school. It was the same week of our first free election in Poland. I remember very well that night of election when we were first time allowed to vote for the candidates that we picked. Because before, the election wasn't an election. First, the candidates were only from the Communist Party. And the second, nobody was counting the votes. It was really irrelevant. And I remember because my father, when the Solidarity make a deal with the communists, okay, because the situation is very bad, 1989, the government will make a deal with the Solidarity. Okay, so you're gonna have 30% of votes, of seats in the parliament. Like not really you, but we're gonna have like an open, so everybody can vote, run for that 30%. And the Senate is gonna be full free. Like 100 seats is gonna be full free for everybody who want to run. They can run. And my father was in this election board in our district, whatever you call, this, like in the school, he was vice president of that. How you call it? Election board.
Board of election.
Board of election, yes.
Yeah.
And the other guy was old communist. He was doing that for years, and he told my dad, "Listen, we never counted the votes. Nobody cares. We just received the letter. What the result should be." And this is what we did. There was the first time that they really counted page by page how they voted.
How do you know that? How do you know it was different at that time?
Because my dad was there.
He was
right with that guy.
Yes.
So he was part of this crew that was counting those votes. No.
And then, where did you go to college for your?
I went to the same college that my dad, different brand, because he was mathematician. I was studying history.
Now, you were there during the collapse of the Soviet Union?
Yes.
And how was that experience? Because that definitely had an effect on Poland.
Oh, yes.
People must have been thinking that, something's going to give or something's going to happen at some point, but maybe they weren't expecting it.
We were really surprised. I didn't believe it's going to happen. In this winter, 1988-89, I was preparing for graduation. We were learning for finals, but we start to receive the news that there's those negotiations. And then we heard about Perestroika and Gorbachev, Gorbachev talking with Reagan,
Yes.
Mr. Gorbachev, tear down this wall. And we remember that,
Yes.
So that was this thing. And then they allowed more and more. And so yeah, but it's never going to happen. And I still remember our teacher, the history teacher said, because there was a funny thing. One of the exams that we have to pass for the finals was the exam from political science, which is strictly communism, nasty things. Nobody want to learn that.
Training people how to
be a communist. Yes, exactly. Yeah. Nobody want to learn that, and she didn't want to teach us that. But she said, "Guys, I'm so sorry. We have to have this subject. We're gonna learn that. and we're going to have the finals with that. I'm so sorry. I'm not in power to change it. If you will not have to do that finals, I will all buy you the ice creams from my own pocket. And we say, okay, we have to learn it. Guess what? They didn't have to, because when the communists collapsed, they said, you don't have to make that exam. Because one of the first changes that the government make was, we're not going to have this exam because it's stupid to really, it's crazy, to make the finals from political science that everybody knows it's fake anyway, right? So that was the thing. And the joy and enthusiasm of Polish people fighting, finally I can do something. So, for example, I have a friend, when we were going in the election night, putting like flyers into the door in the houses, Probably was illegal, but we didn't know that. You cannot really do this in election night, but I don't even know. To invite people to go to vote. Yeah. And it was one of the best percentage of people participating in the election. And to the Senate, 99% of candidates was from Solidarity, and one was independent. No communist entered to the Senate. And the similar thing was with the House of Representatives. We call it differently, but it's okay. That 30% that they gave us, 30% was taken by Solidarity. No communists. Even the communists were running against Solidarity. No, they didn't manage.
So none of them got in.
No, nobody got in. Only those other rest, like 70%.
Yes.
But then Wałęsa make a deal with those other guys. Okay, let's overturn the communists. I don't remember the details now because it's a long story. Finally, they make a deal, and during the session, they voted against this little branch of deep core communists. They want to keep the communists, and they overturn them. They make the first independent Solidarity government was in the fall of 1989. I remember the joy was enormous. We were so happy. Finally, we have a free country. Finally, we can decide what to do. Nobody will tell us, oh, you cannot buy this, you cannot buy. It's kind of like, like finally you said, oh, I don't have to buy that tea anymore.
I can pick a different one.
I can pick a different brand. I don't have to deal with this. I can throw this tea to the Boston Harbor. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. This was the feeling, like a revolutionary war without war.
Yes.
No, without war.
Yes.
No. Finally, I can do what I want. Of course, then was a disappointment because it didn't work as we planned, but it's a different story.
I mean, in terms of how the government and things were running in the country later on.
Politicians are always doing politics. So. And at the end, you are always in trouble. I remember my disappointment was when I wasn't already in college, and there was this protest against, I don't remember now what was it. Okay. It was, they didn't accept that free student society, and we protest against that. Why we have only this old communistic society for students? We want to have an independent one. Okay, so there was this. We have a meeting. I remember that very well. I was already 19 or 20. We have this meeting. Okay, very good. Guy was screaming, "Hey guys, we make negotiations. Okay. Now we're going to have a break. At 2 o'clock, we're going to meet again, and we're going to decide if we are going to strike or not. Okay, everybody's going to be involved. We're going to come at 2 o'clock here to strike. Or not. We will vote. Okay, everybody, yes, we're going to do it." We left for lunch. We came back from lunch, and they said the strike is announced. What do you mean? It's 12. They said we're going to meet at 2. No, they decided. Who decided? I wasn't there. They said at 2. What's going on here? Oh, no, they decided to go on strike. So I said, okay, they're all screwed ups. And this was the last time when I was thinking that politics can change life of the people.
after that moment of, well, you had the joy of the changeover, that then you started seeing some of the other things that were still tough to, just within the political system.
Exactly.
But
it was still better than before, don't get me wrong, right? Don't get me wrong.
Did you start, did it take a few years for things economically to change and for
Yes.
trading and global trading in terms of getting other supplies in?
Yes, it was, the first year was very hard because
Just that transition.
the transition was really painful, but we managed. We have this Secretary of Finances, whatever.
Yes, Ministry
of
Finance.
Finances, of like a
Treasury.
Treasury, something like that. He made a really strong plan. Free the prices, because the prices was sanctioned by the government. And say make a free market. If you want to buy it for $100, let's buy it for $100. If you want to sell it for $200, if somebody want to buy it, let them buy it. And the inflation went up to the sky for the first year. It was like, I don't know, it was like thousands and millions, right? Everything was counted in millions. Million zloty was, I don't know, book.
It's crazy.
We just write on the zero at the end, no? But then it equal, like level up.
Yes.
Little by little. After 2 years but then at least all of a sudden it appeared that we have produce in the stores. No, because we realized that before everything that we produce in Poland was transported to Soviet Union. Was stolen from us. There were even jokes about it, no?
They prioritized up there. But now with trading with other companies coming from outside, you would get...
Yes. They make deals with this other companies. They make a deal with the global market bank. I don't remember exactly. Because we owe them millions of dollars.
Yeah.
And they level up all the debts that we had, and they start to be really real economy. Right?
And then, so what happened after you graduated?
So I start to work in a high school, and in the same time I start to work in the diocesan radio station. Because after communist collapse, that make this deal that now everybody who want can have the public media, like radio, TV.
Not just the government.
Not the government-run branch, yes. Like we have like 2 channels of TV, right? And that's it. Everything was like we were receiving only the news that government like.
Yes.
But to be honest, we learn how to listen to it. Because if you know that I'm lying, so you need to figure out how to filter that. Okay, let's say the plane fell on the ground. Okay, probably that's the fact. But who did that, right? Okay, that was this and this. I don't think so. Then you start to filtering the information that are coming, no? But then we start to have this free media. So I was involved in this local radio station run by the Diocese of Wrocław. It was very nice, very nice. We start from scratches. A lot of very nice things happen. A lot of good friendship, because when you start working on some new project that is just born, you are really involved, and it's really, really, really good experience. And also that helped me to start to be deeper with my faith, because we have some, like prayers in the radio, like catechesis about faith and stuff, Christian music and stuff.
Because before that there wasn't.
Oh, no.
Anything.
Nothing. Solidarity managed to set up 1 time a week mass in radio. So you can listen the mass at the radio station, in the public radio. There's the only thing that we managed to do. No, nothing religious was allowed in the TV, only radio. An opposite. Everything was bad, then was allowed. Everything bad about religion or something
It was
that
like
was allowed.
Then it was just like an open season for whatever
Exactly.
people wanted
Yeah.
to say.
And now was free. So we managed to do this radio station for the Catholics, and that helps me a little bit to discover my vocation. No, to be friend with the priest who was director of that radio station, who was a very nice and wise guy. You know, very, very, very interesting time. And I was working in a high school, and I was doing a lot of crazy stuff. I was playing in a band on the weddings.
Wow.
It was good. A lot of fun. Yeah.
And when did you go to seminary school?
So then in 1994, I joined the group in a church that is called Neo-Catechumenal Way. This is the formation in a church based on rediscovering your baptism. And basically, the most important thing for me was to listen to the Word of God as it is a word for me. That this is not the history, this is not the theory, this is the Word that God speaks to me. And that helps me to discover the vocation. And in 2000, I decided, okay, God is calling me to be a priest. So I entered to the seminary in 2000. In 2000, in September, I started the seminary. I was in seminary in Warsaw. It's a missionary seminary. And after 8 years of formation, I was ordained to be a priest. First, I worked for 4 years in the parish in Warsaw, and after 4 years, I was sent to America.
And how was that experience in Warsaw?
It was very interesting. I learned a lot. We have a very, very good pastor who had a very deep experience being a priest during communism. So he was sharing the stories about the persecutions and stuff. And then he helped me to understand all those books in the church that you have to register the baptism, the weddings, and what to do when something is wrong. You have to do this and that. He was very good with those things. It was very good experience. Very good experience.
So how did that opportunity really kind of come about to come to the U.S.?
So my seminary, my formation is a missionary seminary. So we are ready to go anywhere the diocese decided to send us. So there was a request from Bishop Murphy to send to Long Island a Polish-speaking priest who also speaks English. So my rector called me, Peter, where are you? On a dinner with my friends. Why are you asking? Oh, because you're a candidate to go to America. What do you think? Well, happy, ready to continue. Do you speak English? Well, not really. You will learn. You have 3 months. Bye. And he hung up on me. Okay. And then I started to, I need to take some classes because my last English class was in the college, like probably 15 years before, even more maybe.
Because it wasn't like English was a big second language.
No. I learned English basically listening to music and watching the movies.
Even before you, before you came over here.
So that was, I remember I bought some private classes with a teacher, and for those 3 months to catch up with. And she said to me, listen, you have very good vocabulary, but terrible grammar. I know, I never learned grammar at all. I can speak to you with the quotes from the movies, no? Help me, Obi-Wan Kenobi, you're my only hope. You need to learn the ways of the Force if you want to go with me to Alderaan. Right? So that was I can speak the phrases from Star Wars and put them into the dialogue with the real situations, but I can't really... Until now, I don't know anything about conditional. I'm just improvising what it's supposed to be. I know there are 3 types of conditional, but never figured out. Yeah.
So at that point, you were ready to come over, or were you kind of thinking
no, it's fine.
You weren't like, I want to stay in Poland.
No, I was excited. My whole formation was to go to the mission, to go outside of my diocese, to work in different countries, no?
And that was in Riverhead?
So first I was in Riverhead, in St. Isidore, in Polish parish.
And what year was that you came over?
2012.
2012.
I started to be there.
And what did you think of the U.S. when you came in? And
Well, for us, U.S. is always the promised land. The land of opportunities, a land of freedom, a land of joy, and beautiful land. So my first thing was, I'm going to see America that I was reading about. I saw the pictures. I saw the videos about Yellowstone. I saw the meteor crater in Arizona. I want to see that. I mean, like, what? No, that was the first feeling that I came to New York, you know. And when you approach the New York and you see the skylights, you know, skyscrapers, it was in the night. It was like, wow. It's New York. I'm landing in New York. Oh my God, I'm gonna land in New York. A lot of excitement, no? And then was the first expression. The second expression was to meet the people, who are very friendly, but was kind of interesting approach, because everybody was asking me how I'm doing, but nobody really cared when I started to explain them that.
you mean the community?
No, the people on the street ask you, how are you doing?
Yes.
And they really don't care. Because then I learned that this is just to say hello. How are you?
It's a
how are
talk.
you? How are you? Oh, how are you? How are you? How are you? How are you? You know, this is how we speak. In that time, I didn't know that this is just the way to say good morning. I was trying to answer the question.
People would be like, all right, I'm done.
What's happening? It was kind of funny, you know.
Yeah.
And so that was my first experience. The second experience was Hurricane Sandy. She came right after like 2 weeks of my presence in the United States. Hurricane Sandy hit us. I remember that very, very well. We lost the door to the church, and some shingles and some trees fell. It was kind of scary thing, you know.
Yeah.
I remember that very well.
Huh.
It was but also what I experienced, that community stepping up and helping each other.
Yeah.
It was a beautiful thing that I read that, okay, that's America that I was thinking of. You know, that's the thing that I like. You know?
Yes. And what did you think of the Riverhead and the community at St. Isadore Roman Church?
It's lovely. It's lovely. First, we have the group of the old Polish immigrants whose grandparents came from Poland, and they were all born in America, and they still cherish the Polish heritage. Then last names are still with the Polish pronunciation. Probably the only word that they can say is pierogi and kiełbasa, right? Or daj mi buzi, which is kiss me. That was the only words that they knew. But it was always this, we are Polish. We have this Polish town. We take care of the Polish heritage.
Yes.
And then this was the thing. There's a second group is those who came a few years ago from like 50 years ago. But they were still speaking with a strong Polish accent. Because, like me, for example. I try to speak Long Island, but it's kind of like hard, you know.
Yeah.
But the Polish people, you know, that we all pronounce very. We read all letters, you know that, right? Because what is written, you have to read it. This is how we speak when you speak with very, very strong Polish accent. This is how it goes. I try not to, but so this is the group of Polish people who lives there. They still remember Poland, and because of that, sometimes I see some sadness and sentiment among them. No, we are here, but we miss Poland. And then you have the third generation, which is the kids. They were all born there, already here in America, right? They grow up bilingual, and they are very strong about the Polish culture. But they're all Americans, right? And they speak American with a Long Island accent without any efforts. I also speak Polish with Long Island accent, which is kind of funny to hear. But they always learn. They go to Polish. We have this Saturday Polish school. They learn Polish there. They Polish history, Polish geography, so they will know what the roots are, which is very important.
They still will learn that and not be so. It's about. I think it's good to have a balance where it's because I think even in some other groups, they might have assimilated or integrated so much that they lose
exactly
a lot of their heritage.
Yes. I think that's the one of the biggest problems that we have. That what happened to the tree when you cut off the roots? It will wither. If you don't have a roots, you don't know where you come from, then it's very difficult to. Okay, we adjust to the situation because we're in America, so we're Americans, so we're in American history. But to know your history, it's enriching you.
Yeah.
It's good for you because you know that you didn't fall from the sky. This is your parents, this is your grandparents. You came from that story, and this is your history. You cannot annul your history. Oh, I didn't like it. For example, maybe somebody says, "Oh, your grandfather was in Wehrmacht." Yes, he was. But it doesn't affect me. I am a different person. He was a different person, right? Don't judge me according to my past or my story. No, that's one of those things that is very, very important, I think. To know your past and learn from your past how to avoid the mistakes in the future. This is the history lesson, no, that we all do. But don't nullify the past because the past doesn't exist. We want to forget about the past. No, don't forget about the past. The past is your history where, and now coming to the faith, where God was revealed anyway. Because God didn't appear in the one moment of your history. God was always with you. And if he allowed those situations, it means there is a plan for you to discover that sufferings that you passed through, those tribulations, God allowed that because he was there with you. Right? And now he's leading you to that situation, to that place where you are right now, and you need to figure it out.
And so how long were you there at St. Isadore?
So I was there 8 years. Yes, I came in 2012, and I was transferred to Greenport in 2020, in September.
But you also were at Our Lady of Ostrabrama.
Well, I was helping there.
I
was helping in Ostrabrama. When I was in St. Isidore, my assignment was practically to those two parishes. So one time a week I was going to Ostrabrama to Kachok, and I was helping there. Yes.
And how did the opportunity come about to come to St. Agnes?
Well, the Father Richard retired. Father Richard Henning retired from being a pastor. And I said, I'm ready to take over, because then I was a parochial vicar, so like a helper in the parish when the Father Robert Kuznik was a pastor. And then I said, maybe after 8 years being a vicar, maybe I'm ready to be a pastor. So I put my name, and I said to the clergy personnel of the diocese, I'm ready. If you want me to go somewhere, I'm ready to go whenever you need me. So they called me, Peter, Bishop wants you to be a pastor in Greenport. Thank you. Very good. I will do it.
How was that experience, that change from Riverhead to coming out here?
First thing is a lot of paperwork that as a vicar I didn't have to do. And sometimes it's overwhelming. The bureaucracy that we all have in the village, in the town, in the state, in the church, in the diocese, bureaucracy that really does not allow you to do what you really want to do. To evangelize, to bring people to Christ. No, you have to remember that you have to pay the bills. You have to remember to make a renovation. All the stuff. There was the bad thing. The beauty of Greenport is that small community where everybody knows each other. It's a beautiful thing. When you take a walk on the street and everybody say, "Hi, Father Peter. Hi, Father Peter. Hi, guys. Hey." I'm driving on the street. I'm honking because somebody's walking. I'm waving. That's beauty. That's the thing fantastic, no? That you know each other. Because first there is a people who lives here from generations, no? There are the streets names because my grandfather was living on the streets. That's why the name is like this, no? And that's a beautiful thing, no? To see that small community and also the bonds. Not only because this is my cousin of my second cousin, because in Greenport everybody know each other and everybody is cousin of somebody else. Not only that, but that community that even with diversities, with different opinions, when something is going on, we're helping each other. This is beautiful thing that I see in at least in the parish, no. You know, also this is the thing that I see in our fire department, no, because I am firefighter too. Yes, I really enjoy to be with my brothers and sisters in fire department.
And that was something you took on recently?
Well, I joined the fire department in Riverhead, and then so I went to fire academy. I finished fire academy and joined the fire police. So technically, I am peace officer as a fire police. I swore, you know. I mean, it was very nice classes. We learned a lot. And then I was 4.5 years in Riverhead. And then when I came here, the first thing that I did, I mean, not first, but almost first thing that I did, I went to the firehouse and said, "Good morning, my name is Peter, and I was in Riverhead. I want to be member of Greenport Fire Department." "Thank you, very good. We need the volunteers. Thank you for joining us." Ciao. Very good. Since then, I'm always responding to the calls as much as I can. And the people ask me, "Are you a chaplain?" "No. Frank Maslow is a chaplain. I'm just a regular firefighter." Oh, that's it. I'm responding to the calls as a fire police, as a helper in the rescue squad, and carrying the stretcher with the people when they need me, and doing my best.
Absolutely. And also, just I think it was more when you came over here to the U.S. I don't know if I'm pronouncing the name right, but is it called Ginnick?
Ginnick-Washable.
Ginnick-Washable, the puppet?
Yes. Ginnick-Washable is the puppet, a monk puppet that I receive from my friend. He had a little company that makes video games, and now they change it into the board games with a Christian background. So like educational games when the kids are learning about Psalms, about the history of Abraham and stuff like that. And I was helping him with the projects. And as a token of his gratitude, he gave me that puppet, which is a monk. It's like a Muppet.
Yeah.
And then I discovered that there's a lot of good opportunities to speak with the kids. So Genek was always with me in the parish there in Poland, and I brought him here. And it was funny.
And I've seen on YouTube you get a lot of views.
Yes. Well, we're doing that. There's a lot of those videos are in Polish.
Yeah.
So that's I discovered it's hard to translate it, because the idea of Genek Washable is that his little kid, who is a monk actually, but still a little kid, he speaks like that, lisping a little bit because he's a little kid is, no? And he doesn't know things. So because he doesn't know things, he sometimes asks dumb questions. And that makes it funny, no? When he asks some questions that no adult will ever dare to ask. But he's a kid, so he is. Mm-hmm. So he is asking, I mean, like, we're making videos on the street one day, and he was asking people on the street, what does it mean to be a Christian? And people were like, what? What are you talking about? Oh, what does it mean? How do you know who is a Christian, who is not? Because it's interesting, and the people were given very, very interesting answers. Like, for example, or the other videos we did about the Bible, no? Mm-hmm. He's asking the questions that somebody need to answer those questions, because the kid will ask that question. right? So there was always a lot of fun with that.
Mm. And you're still doing it?
Not too much.
Not as much.
Not too much.
Okay. And
there's no time.
I know. And then also with St. Agnes Church, what kind of programs or events have you been working on
In our parish.
in your parish?
So one of those things that it's very, I think it works good, is the group of kids. They are helping at the altar. We call them altar servers. And I discovered something very important, that the kids, they need the attention. They need to be seen. They need to know that they are needed. They need to know that somebody appreciates their efforts. Even sometimes the efforts are very slappy. But that's why we are there, to learn how to do things. And I'm not focusing only about the technical things, but we are learning about faith in generally. No, we read the Bible together. But what is this important thing? I meet with them on a regular basis. This is not just, we have altar service, come and serve in the church. Yeah, why? Why do I have to do that? No, you need to learn. So I do this training with them, teaching them and building relationship with them, to the point that they start to trust me. They start to talk about their problems. So I will say, some people say this is kind of like a youth group with focusing on serving on the altar. Like people say, altar servers, there's boys standing on the altar. It's more than that. In Riverhead, I tried to develop something interesting, because I am, and those kids were also big fans of Star Wars. So we made it this hierarchy, when you join, you are Padawan. Then you learn, you became a Jedi Knight, and then you became a Jedi Master. And Jedi Master has responsibility to teach the Padawans. And I make the pairs among them. Those guys who were like 12, 13, they had responsibility to teach those 9-year-old kids how to serve at the altar. And they bring this bond between them and give those almost teenagers responsibility. And they really appreciate that. And then I was asking them for opinion about who is ready to be a Jedi Knight already. And they said, I don't think so, because he doesn't behave well, right? All those little things that the kids know and I don't. It was a very, very good thing, because this is something that I learned from scouting. When I was in Poland, I was a chaplain in the Girl Scouts unit in my parish, and they taught me a lot of things about that. Give the youth responsibility and they will do it. And you will be surprised how they're going to do it. We have the camps where the leader was 20-year-old girl, when the troop leader was 15, and the girls were like 12, 13, no? They did everything by themselves. They built the camp with the axes, with the chainsaws, with everything. To build the tents, they cook on the fire. Fantastic. Sometimes we do not appreciate that. Sometimes we think that we have to do everything for the kids. Let them do things. Allow them. Open the opportunity. And they will do crazy stuff. Okay, sometimes they're going to hurt each other. Yeah, that's fine. Put the Band-Aid and keep going, no? Life is tough. Get the helmet, no? Keep going, no?
Yes.
Protect yourself and let's go, no? But I still remember that one of those moments, one girl came, the wasp bite her. And she like with the eye like this. Oh my God, we have to go to hospital. No. I almost see everything. Don't worry about it, no? I will survive. It's okay. No, of course we take care of her, don't get me wrong, but the toughness that, because what I see with those kids, they spend so much time watching TV with the cell phones. They don't know what real life is. And we raise them in this bubble of protection, because everything is, oh my God, and then they're gonna go to the real life and they panic. They don't know what to do with their life.
Yes.
let them live in this real environment. Let them experience the failures, right? Let them experience that not everything goes as you want it. You know, then it helps you to rebuild yourself. No?
Yes.
The other things is the bullying and everything. I'm not talking about that situation because this is terrible stuff to happen. It happened to me when I was a kid. I was bullied in the elementary school a lot. No? But so that's not I'm talking about. I'm talking about like going out. No, going to the environment to place.
Get outside more, especially with more things on social media and digital.
Yes.
Just needing to still get out there and interact with people. And like you said, not being in a closed off situation.
Let them scratch their knees.
Yeah.
Whatever.
People, they need to experience different situations and learn.
Let the girls climb the trees if they want it. Don't put them in the Barbie doll clothes. Maybe they don't want to. They just want to play soccer. Okay, let them play soccer.
Yeah.
And stuff like that, you know, like but what is important? To appreciate that. One of those things that is very, and I try not to do it, don't criticize when something went wrong. No, show what was wrong and to teach them, but don't panic. Oh, they don't know. Oh, my God. No, they learn. We all were there. They need to learn. They need to experience good things and the bad things. And enlighten them, to help them to process these problems. And then you will have good firefighters.
Yes. And I had just a few other questions. In terms of the community out here at St. Agnes Church, how would you describe the community that goes to the church?
In what sense?
The types of people that come to the church. Is it a wide range of people?
Oh, okay. So, of course,
are there Polish people going?
No, we have just few families that are Polish.
But that was more in Riverhead.
Yeah, more in Riverhead. In Greenport, we have a big Latino community.
Yes.
We have one mass in Spanish on Saturday night. So usually that mass is the biggest. It's like let's say on every mass on Sunday we have like around 100 people. We have 4 English masses in weekend and 1 Spanish mass in weekend. So on Spanish mass we're gonna have like 150.
Wow.
Right. So that's the numbers. When there's a big feast, there's gonna be. I mean, for Guadalupe it was like 300 people in the church.
Yes.
Right, because everybody came from neighborhood and from different villages as well. But this is the community. And also it's interesting because this is something that I learned here, that for years that Spanish community was kind of like left behind on the side. And one of the things that I try to do in the parish is to unite them with the parish. That you are not a separate group. You are members of the parish. With the same privileges and with the same responsibilities. No?
Yes.
This is your parish. We're not renting you the building for the Spanish community. That's ridiculous. No, you're a member of the parish. This is your house.
Yes.
You can come. You know, I am your pastor. You know, that's the point of reference. Come to me if you have some problems. Come to me. I'm your pastor. I'm open. I'm open to help you as much as I can with my Spanish broken language. I knew some words in Spanish, but so we can use Google Translator if it will not work. But you know, that's the thing that we try to do, because this is what I felt. What was kind of like two
somewhat divided
parallel churches. No, we don't know what they're doing. They don't know what we are doing. No, and this is try to. This is
somewhat integrate
to integrate community as a. For example, we do. There's a 3rd time in a row we're gonna do this summer picnic in the parish, which is totally mixed. So we have hot dogs, burgers, pupusas, tamales and all those stuff, no? Tacos, and there's a lot of fun with that, no?
Yeah, it's wonderful.
There's another thing with this, going deeper, because everybody said, oh, those Latinos. And they're not. Because they are from Guatemala, from Nicaragua, from Salvador, from Mexico, from Ecuador, from Colombia, from Peru. There are people from different countries. So to say like, oh, they are from Latino America. Well, but you don't say that I'm from Europe.
Yeah,
You say Irish. You don't say, oh, Europeans.
yeah.
You don't say Polish, oh, Europeans. You don't say, you say Russians, Ukrainians, Germans, Dutch, but you say Latinos. Well, it's kind of weird, you know. I know that's kind of, you know, this is how we speak.
But it's much more. It's too simple. It's like it's more diverse within that. You're just labeling a whole thing, whereas the
Latinos.
Yeah.
You know, it's funny because they don't. I spoke with many of them and said, "Listen, we don't even speak the same way. For you, maybe because you don't speak Spanish, it sounds the same." But by accent, you can discover who is from what country, because sometimes we use the words that mean something else. For example, they told me, like, bus is in Salvador, but the bus in, bus, no? Bus.
Yes.
But in Dominican Republic, it's guagua. Not bus, it's guagua, right? It's funny, you know?
Yeah.
That's the way they speak different dialects, different language. I mean, not language, but you know, like using different words. They told me, for example, there are some words that in that country you can use, but in that country don't dare to use it because it's offensive. They say, oh, in Salvador it's okay, but in Guatemala people will be offended if you will say that. Really? Yeah, because this is like cursing. Okay, I'm not gonna say that then.
Yes.
Right. That's and this is what I try to do. We will see how it goes. We will try to do this summer a national festival when we can promote the diversity among the Latino community, to show, not in the sense the division, but different cultures.
Yes.
Different food, different dances, different clothing from different countries of South America. We will see if it works. We are still in the process of planning. But people are very enthusiastic to show their culture from Mexico, from Guatemala, from Salvador.
Yeah, that sounds exciting. And I had a question just... Actually, I'll ask this question first. In terms of yourself as a pastor, Reverend, what do you enjoy most about your life and career in that profession?
It's interesting because I just spoke yesterday about it with my friends. The most thing that I like being a pastor is to do baptisms, to introduce people to faith. This Easter, we have 7 baptisms of adults. I mean, adults and the teenagers. When I was able to help them to discover faith and to prepare those teenagers to enter to faith and receive baptism, knowing what they're really doing. And this is very, very, very joyful to see that this is their choice. They really want it, and they discover what does it mean to be a Christian. This is one of the things that I like. The other thing that I really like is to help people with the spiritual crises. When the people are coming with their sins to confession or to talk, to listen their experiences of sufferings, and with this confidence that they know that I'm not going to repeat to anybody, so they can be free, because seal of confession oblige me not to speak to anybody about the things that they said. No, so they're free to speak to me about the sufferings that they experience and the problems that happens, and I can help them to direct them what to do. No, not to be afraid, not to be ashamed also about the sins that they have done, because God loves them, God loves you, and God forgives. And that's the beauty of Christianity, that despite of our sins, God loves us, and He knows that our sins is a bad thing that happened to us. The sin is never okay, but sin can be forgiven. This is one of the problems that I see in our society. We don't forgive each other. The society does not have capacity, even sometimes intention, to forgive the sinner. What are you going to do with the sinner? Crucify. Put them on the banner. This is the bad guy. Show them everybody. No, but yeah, so okay, but he sinned that way. But what way did you sin? You sin different way. What's the difference then? Between him and you? The difference is only the level of sinning, but you sin anyway. Mm-hmm. And God loves you and God loves him. And Jesus Christ died for him and for you, to give you forgiveness, because he knows that sin is always something that is killing. This is nothing, the sin is nothing what is nice but forbidden. That's wrong conception of sin. Sometimes we think, oh, it's a bad thing, but we're going to do it because it's nice. Mm-hmm. No, it's not. You don't do it because it's killing you. It's destroying your personality. You're destroying your relationship with the others. So that's why to talk about those things is always very joyful for me, to explain people that God loves them even they are in biggest S of their lives.
Mm. Yes. And just to change topics a bit, mm-hmm. in terms of, you've been here for over 10 years now, because you came in 2012.
12 years.
12 years to the U.S. What do you think of the United States, and have your views changed from when you initially came over in terms of what you thought of it and seeing it today? And obviously there's always challenges in any system or mm-hmm. country, whether under, you could talk about more of a socialistic mm-hmm. country or more capitalistic, but that there are always flaws within every system. But looking from when you first came here to today, kind of your thoughts on the U.S. and what mm-hmm. you've kind of seen over that time.
I think, except that America is beautiful. I managed to go to Yellowstone. I managed to go to Arizona to see this crater that I was dreaming all my childhood about. I was in Yosemite, and I was in Sequoia Park, and I was in Appalachians. Beautiful, beautiful things. But despite that, I think that what is sad, that something that I didn't think that it's gonna be, is that that freedom that I was thinking of is not really as it's supposed to be, in my opinion, no? That now we see more and more regulations about almost every aspect of our life, to the point, like, let's say, example of Greenport Village, no? Putting new codes about this, about that, about this, about that. I'm not saying that everything is wrong. I'm saying about the numbers of these codes that we have to follow now, right? Mm. One of those ridiculous things, I'm sorry to say that, probably I'm going to be scourged by somebody who has a different opinion, but one of the new codes in it's dog barking longer than 15 minutes. Mm. Like, sure. What about the deer? Oh, no, deer are exempt. So if the deer is making wild party in the night, that's fine. But the dog cannot, right? Okay, it's fine. You can, but then who's going to enforce that? Okay, so let's make more law enforcement, right? So who's going to control the law enforcement? Oh, we're going to have some supervisors who are going to control the law enforcement. And who's going to control them? Oh, but are you going to discover all those flaws? Oh, yeah, we have a website. There is a link on Greenport Village when we can click and anonymously snitch on somebody. You can denounce that somebody's behavior is against the codes. And I said, I remember that. in Poland during communism was exactly the same thing. There were a lot of rules, and everybody was snitching on each other. That's no good. That's no good. Because it's breaking this relationship between the people, who, again, have different opinion about many things, but they should not be put in against each other on this level, no?
Yeah, it puts them against each other more so than...
That's something that I really do not like. Too much rules about everything. No?
What about, say, an issue going on? Well, it's across the country.
I was saying this as an example. Don't get me wrong, no?
Yes. What about, say, housing and affordability? And has the real estate market gone out of control where there needs to be some form of regulation, but then it's kind of a tough thing? Or do you have put in more affordable public housing? Or because, I mean, obviously there's not that much. It's tough now out here. But I was just curious.
But I mean, my opinion is you don't have to live here then. You cannot afford living in Long Island. Fine. Go to New Mexico. They have cheaper places. It's rough, to think things like, my whole life was here. Okay. But now what? Try to think like globally, no?
Yes.
Because the Long Island is going to be for rich people. Not really. Because the rich people going to live here, and then they will have to have some people who will work for them, right? Somehow. I don't know how it works, no? But so if there will be nobody who will working here, who's going to work here, they will have to change something. But let them do it. My problem is always when the government is starting to do stuff that the people can do by themselves. That's my problem with that. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like, for example, it makes the rules about that. Okay, again, who's going to enforce the rules, no? Then you're going to have a full jails. I don't know. You're going to have to put another jail. But then you're going to let them all out because it's a bail reform, right?
Yes.
And you have criminals walking on the streets because I'm serving, don't get me wrong, again, I'm serving as a chaplain in the jail. And I know those guys. And again, I know they're suffering. Many of them, they went to confession, the criminals. No, really guys who did the bad stuff. And some of them, they said, you know what? It's good that I'm here because I'm not taking drugs right now. It helps me to be here. No? But we just drifted away from the topic. There are a lot of things to discuss.
Yeah, there's a lot of things. It's challenging.
But you know what's the problem? That the people will say, oh, you're talking about politics. I never mentioned any party yet. I'm just talking about the issues that we have and my idea how to fix it. Yes. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe it's wrong, but I'm showing you this is how the communists worked. I see that it worked similar here, and I'm telling you it didn't work.
It failed.
It failed completely. It completely failed.
And what about, say, like a hybrid system, or even
probably
like in Scandinavia has been an example, but those are much smaller countries, and they have democratic social democracy.
But United States is not a democratic country. It's constitutional republic, and that's the big difference. You know what's the difference between democracy and republic? In democracy, you can vote to eat one of us. Animals can vote to eat the cow. In constitutional republic, cow still has her own rights. You cannot do that. That's the difference. Because then how far we're gonna go? We're gonna vote everything because we have a majority. But what if you are wrong and minority actually was right? Because democracy, this is the flaw in democracy. We know, all knows, democracy is the best system of the world. No, the worst system of the world, but nobody discovered anything wiser. This is Churchill, right?
Yes.
No, nothing better. But that's the problem, in Greece. Actually, in Greece, we call it democracy, but it wasn't democracy because not everybody has the rights. Only the citizens of the town had the rights. But Plato said, you know what is the best system? tyranny. Only one thing, the tyrant needs to be philosopher. It was kind of interesting approach. When somebody who is wise is running the country, but then the problem starts when that guy is not wise. Then we are screwed. That's why we have democracy, to control that. So we have these systems, and this is something that works, in my opinion, in America, works better than in Europe. We have these 3 branches of the government, no? I'm not talking not as a priest, as a historian, no?
Yes.
Don't get me wrong. No, the 3 branches of government, they are almost totally independent. It's kind of depend on each other, but it's kind of like this check and balance thing. In Europe's system, even they say that we have division of powers, they don't. One of those things that always makes me angry with Polish system, and in England is the same thing, that the prime minister, which is an executive branch, in the same time is a member of the Congress. That's really dumb, because you are voting about the things that you did. And you are, in America, the president of the United States has no right to enter to the Congress building without invitation of the Speaker of the House, right? You know that, right? That's the only time that he can enter to the building is when he buy a ticket for the visit, as it was a tourist, or he is invited for this for the State of the Union speech, right? This is the only thing when he can enter to the building. The division of powers is so strong. So because we don't really want the tyrants, because we know the tyrants are not philosophers, right? So we want those guys like, okay, this is your White House, stay there. We're gonna tell you what to do because we are the executive branch, juridical branch, and yes,
legislative
branch. Yes. So that's the thing. No, the legislative branch, executive branch, and the juridical branch, they're really separate in America, and then I really like that very much. Really like it. No, we can improve it too. Yeah.
Yes.
The way how we elect, but this is different story. No.
And just what do you like about living and working on the North Fork?
The environment. Water everywhere. Wherever you go, you are in the ocean. I like it very much. The vineyards are beautiful. Strawberries festival. I always go to eat strawberry. I love strawberries. Good food. Quiet. In the night, you can see the Milky Way. You cannot see that in the Riverhead. You cannot see that.
No, you have to.
You go here. I can go outside my house and I can see the Milky Way with the good nights. No.
Yes.
That's a beautiful thing. Not too many people. Peaceful, right? This is what I like in North Fork. The negative things. Everything is far. Everything you go, you have to drive like miles and miles and miles. The closest Walmart is like 30 miles away, right?
Yes.
So that's the flaws, but you cannot have those.
Give and take what you wanted more.
Exactly. You cannot have the cake and eat the cake in the same time. No, that's the thing. So this is what I like in North Fork.
And what do you hope for the future of the North Fork and its community down the line?
I will say stay where you are. Stay where you are. Keep that rural style in North Fork because this is unique thing. We want more tourists. Today, yes. But look what happened with Southampton. You stay in the line for 2 hours in a traffic jam. You're like, you really don't want it here. No, let them do their own things. Let's keep that style that North Fork always have. No, farmers, fishermen, some tourists, of course, nice thing. No, those little restaurants on the front street. You know, again, people knowing each other, smiling. Serving to the community, helping each other. Yes, that's the thing that you should keep it and preserve it.
Yes, and I just ask at the end if there's anything else you'd like to discuss or say that we haven't talked about.
I'm good. I think we discussed too much.
No, so I want to thank you so much for taking the time to come in today and share your story. It was really nice to hear everything you had to say about coming over to the U.S. and your involvement and continued involvement in the community, especially in Greenport.
Thank you so much. It was a pleasure.
Well, I hope you enjoyed episode 57 with Piotr Narkiewicz. I want to thank you for listening to the Floyd Memorial Library podcast, and we'll see you next time.